Hi guys, it's Vibrant Girl. It's Testimony Tuesday and another day of VEDA. So today I wanted to do a video response to Blimey Cow's video, his most recent Messy Monday. But first, obviously I am on the webcam, and this is because the computer charger issue still abounds. So the video I recorded yesterday, hopefully it will exist in some form on YouTube soon. Also, all the other stuff I have on my computer. But my brother has the same computer, so I can get stuff off of it with his charger. Anyways, Blimey Cow's video was about being single and how you can't be a fully functioning person or have any value or happiness or worth if you're single. And it was sarcastic and it was very funny, but also very opening. And I wanted to talk about it from a Christian perspective. I am 23 years old and I am single. I mean, I would love to have a boyfriend, but I don't, and that's not what God has in store for me at the moment. It could change. I hope it changes. And living inside Christian bubble or the Christian world, I think being single is very difficult. And I can use my own church as an example, but I've been to other churches and I see how it works, and it's a Protestant church-wide thing, at least in America. And actually I wasn't really able to articulate this concept until I went to a little meeting that Shane Cleanborn, who is a pastor and an author, was discussing this concept. And so the problem that the church has is that it is elevating marriage to this giant extreme, and in doing so is marginalizing people who are single. And I don't think it's on purpose at all. It's not. Right now, church trends are very much family oriented, which, as someone who volunteers with children at church and really cares about their development, I think it's great that you want to teach the family how to be this more cohesive unit, that you want to help parents be better parents and have better marriages, which will affect the kids and just their lives in general. And so a lot of churches are doing lots of focus on marriage and parenting and all these things, which is great for people who are married or parenting. But I'm single, and often sitting inside my chair at church when there's a several-week sermon series on marriage, and we're actually in the middle of one right now at my church, and we've had them in the past, very alienating. Even if you do point something out in the end saying, well, singles, you can use this later, or the Bible is a truth open to everyone, which is true. But when everything in the church, and I'm using the big C capital church, is becoming so focused on marriage, you feel so left out. I really feel like I live in this little nether space as a part of the church where I was in college and I was a student, and now I'm not. And churches kind of work into this way where they have really cool stuff for kids, great stuff for youth, and even a college ministry. And then they have young marrieds and preschool moms and so on and so forth. And I feel like not being married in my about mid-20s is really starting to make it difficult for me to be active in anything peer related in a church setting, not just my own, because once you're at a college group, kind of just have to wait. And my church actually just said that they were going to start doing a singles Bible study, and I might look at it. But the way it was presented, it almost sounded like it was for like people that were previously single or previously married or something like that, because they're doing childcare and all this and that. Maybe not. I don't know. It wasn't greatly explained. But the point of the matter is, I've gone church hopping before. I've stayed consistently at my church since I was a small child, but I've seen what other churches do, and I just keep seeing this, let's focus on marriages and families, which again is great. But I would be amazed if I saw a 4-week sermon on what it's like to live as a single person. Not preparing for marriage. Not that. But being single. And how you can use that in a positive way, and you can not feel less than valued, which it sometimes feels like Protestant churches are saying. There are lots of churches that won't even hire people in a ministry position unless they're married. And that's just terrible. I know, because I've gone looking and applying. I have a bachelor's degree in ministry. I have 2 internships under my belt. I have years and years of volunteer experience. This should give me a push towards something, but there are either churches that won't audibly or written down say it, but you know as soon as you mention that you're single in an interview, or there are churches that will literally put in their job description, you need to be married to be a children's pastor or a youth pastor, and it's disgusting. I understand it shows that you're stable and that you're probably going to stay in one place, and maybe give an example of what it is to be married in a good relationship to the kids or the youth, but I think as a single person who, I wear my purity ring every day, I focus on God in these manners, and I want to wait and all this stuff. Being open and honest about my life is something that would put me in a box very similar to a teenager or an older child who is starting to think about the possibility of future dating and what runs through their mind. I'm going through that right now. And the fact is, Scripture is full of single people. Paul, who wrote so much of the New Testament, was single. He ministered. He was this amazing missionary that spread the gospel all over what was like their known world. And it's amazing. He started up churches all over the place. And I just can't imagine what it would be like if he applied to be a pastor today. You're not good enough because you're not married? Or he sat in church and all they talked about was marriage. Now, don't get me wrong, we need to talk about marriage. I'm very glad that I have grown up in a church that has discussed it before, because everything I really think about marriage or dating or anything in between is highly affected by what I have learned growing up, from my teens and the youth group to now as an adult. But we can't make that the eternal focus. Just rip apart Scripture and look at what it is. Let's see this and that, and look at people in different stages of life. You can't just focus on marriages. Again, I'm going to post this on my Facebook. I want to make this clear. This is not just about my home church. I've seen this at lots of churches, and it just happens to be something I'm responding to that happened in a video yesterday. And we happen to be going through a series on marriage. But the point is still very valid, even if it's more pertinent at the moment for our home church. I want to be seen as a full member of my home church. I want to be seen as a full member of the greater Protestant community. I can't really speak for Catholicism because I've only visited a couple times at those churches. But, they seem to venerate the highly more spiritual person as single and not married, which is the flip issue. We need to see that Scripture is full of married couples, single people, adults, youth, even some children, all having a purpose. We are the body. If we blind an eye, we're not going to work as well. If we cut up a leg, we're not going to work as well. There are a lot of single people in the whole Christian church, and if we're not doing things for them beyond preparing them for something that's happening in the future, we are showing them that they are not as valued, that your current stage of life doesn't really matter, and that once you get married, you can join with the rest of the grown-ups. But for now, sit quietly and take notes for the future. Like I said, I would be amazed if I went into a church and they talked about singles. And to be fair, what I hear over and over again in church when they talk about marriage is that you can use the someday. To my understanding, most people don't die the same time that their spouse dies. Most people be single again too. Why can't we apply that too? Alright guys, I hope this didn't come off too but it is something that kind of irks me about a lot of churches that I have visited and seen. And again, I live in Southern California. I've only really visited churches in San Bernardino County and Orange County, but the fact still remains that this is something I've seen. And again, Shane Claiborne talked about it, and he lives on the other side of the country from me. So if anyone watching happens to do sermons and stuff, think about your single people, and not just as a footnote. I would love an entire sermon or a sermon series. That would be amazing. Okay guys, I love you all. God bless, and I'll see you tomorrow for more VEDA. Bye.